Cool. All right, well, I am going to attempt to replace the battery on my Pixel 1 original. It's been a freaking amazing phone. It's about 2 years old now, maybe a little over 2 years old. And the battery is not holding a charge like it once did. It has to be recharged multiple times throughout the day. So, this phone is not designed to be taken apart. There's no access to the battery. But I'm going to see if I can access it. Anyways, tools I have, battery, of course, some 2mm super skinny double-sided tape, really fine-tipped tweezers, multiple sized and tipped screwdrivers, kind of a wedge to work around the screen, and a suction cup here. So this will be to help get things apart. If this ends up working, I will make sure to post links to where I ended up getting this kit. Oh, and one other blow dryer, and that would be it. Hey, look, you can see my reflection right there. That's funny. So that would be the fold kit here. Okay, first thing I did, and I've already done it, is I powered off the phone, and then I'm going to remove the SIM card. So this is another, I guess, tool in theory. You need that SIM card key or an earring or paper clip or something of that nature in order to open this up. I'm actually just going to go ahead and leave this out. Just set it up here to the side. I use just a little teeny studded earring to get that out. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up around the outer edges of the screen. The screen protector, I'm guessing, is going to come off here in just a minute, but it's going to be a little bit noisy here. I'm probably going to stop the recording, but I'm going to heat that up really good and then use my wedging tool to try to get underneath that. So here we go. I'm also going to put the suction cup on there to give me a little bit of leverage. Okay guys, I want to show you where I'm at. So I heated it up and I've gotten enough space right here to kind of pry up that screen just a bit. And now I'm heating and using just a business card to go around the outer edge and kind of cut the tape around that outer edge. This has been a difficult process. I've been here for about 5 minutes since I paused the video last. But I'm going to just slowly and meticulously with a utility blade, which I went out and got out of my toolbox, and just go around the outer edge slowly, cutting the glue that's holding that screen on. Right, here I am heating up around the outer edges, hoping to get this screen off here pretty soon. Okay guys, as you can see, I've pretty much gotten the glue off all the way around the screen. I'm just using business cards to kind of cut that. Other videos that I've watched to help me along this process have suggested using playing cards, which I think would probably make this a little bit easier. These business cards are obviously just not as substantial. And then once I think I'm pretty close to being done. Oh shit, just turned the phone on. This is the second time I've done this. Ah! I wish there was a way to make sure I wasn't accidentally gripping the button or hitting the button while gripping the phone. But again, let's make sure we're not doing that. Just be conscious of that. As you can see, though, the screen is almost all the way off. Just be careful. Work your way around slowly. And I have now, I believe, completely gone around the bezel and cut that tape. You can see for the most part the screen is coming apart. I'm going to take my time to get this screen off. I feel like this is where, if you're going to break your phone or your screen or have any problems, it's going to be right here when you're trying to break this seal. So I would highly recommend just taking it slow, just cleaning that around that outer edge as best you can, and just being nice and slow there. Careful for any ribbon behind the phone. As you pry, it's hard to see here, but as you're prying the screen up, you're going to see little bits of that double-sided adhesive tape that's in there. Just very carefully with your card, just kind of break through that to break the screen free. You can see some goobers in there. What's really surprising me is that I'm able to get the screen off without actually having to take my screen protector off. That really does surprise me. I thought the screen protector would have popped right off. Let's see here. Okay guys, right around the top here was the most difficult area for me for whatever reason, but I have gotten it fully detached, as you can see. So very carefully, without jacking up this ribbon, you're going to have to get a little, I'm trying to remember what these screws are called, or this driver is called. The little star-shaped ones is what you have in here. So that is what you need in order to take this all apart. Okay, first thing, I know this is just a horrible resolution for you guys, so sorry, but I hope that more than anything you're getting the confidence that a lay person could totally do this. So first thing, in order to get the display screen off, you're gonna have to pull out these two little screws, which I have already loosened up, and I would suggest being very, very particular in the way that you store those so that you don't lose anything. And then this ribbon should just very carefully pull right out. I might use my hands. I actually feel like, let me see here. So this thing is a little tough to get off. Apparently, this should just lift up here, but it is not. I'm gonna finagle with this for just a minute longer here. Oh, there it goes. Just kind of have to very gently, with something like this, get underneath there and just kind of leverage it upward, and that frees it. So now That's my full display. You can see a little bit of the glue around the outer edges that we'll have to clean off when it comes time to reinstall this. But I am going to set this over to the side here. And these screws as well, I'm going to set off here to the side. So you'll see there are a handful of screws around the outer edge of the display, and that is what I'm going to work on removing now. Alright, time to get these off. Let's see here. There's one. I like to set them in the particular order that I remove them in, so that I can put them in the exact same spot again. Alright, you're going to see that I have a new kit here. So frustrating. The screwdrivers that came with the battery in this kit that I bought online did not include a T5 torque screw or T5 torque screwdriver or whatever, and that is what is required in order to remove all these screws. So although I was able to get out the rest were just not wanting to come out because the tip that I had was not quite right. So $5 or $10 later, and a quick little trip down to Harbor Freight, and we are rocking and rolling again, guys, which is great because that was totally a pain in the butt. So don't assume that the tools that came with your battery are the correct tools. Don't make the same mistake that I did. You would think that if they're going to go out of their way to include tools, that they would make sure they were the right ones for the phone that you are working on, but apparently that is not the case. Okay. I was thinking these screws were all going to be maybe blue Loctited in place, but they are all coming out super easy. So definitely not locked in place at all. No electronic glue or anything holding them. Alright, and that is it. Again, I'm going to try to put them in the order. Oh, there's two right here that I missed. It would be really nice if the tip of the screwdriver was magnetic. So if you're going out to purchase a kit specifically for this project, you might consider that. I think it would make removing them just a bit easier. Oh, just lost one of the screws. But I found it. And that, again, would be the reason why magnetic tips would be great. There's that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So a total of 9 of these bad boys. And again, like I said, I just kind of lay them out in the order that they were in so that I can put them back the same way. Okay, so you are going to remove this from the back of the case along the very outer edge here, along all the outer edges. There is apparently little clips that are holding it in place. And you just have to very gently, again, kind of like you did with the screen, take your blade and create some, separate those clips there. Yep. So that just popped. I could kind of feel, I feel like, a little bit of separation happening. Yep, for sure. So just very gently work your way around both outer edges, and that should come loose. Alright, so you guys probably just heard that I am double checking on another couple other videos just to make sure everything's going smoothly, and it is. But again, just work your way around that outer edge and this is going to pop off. Okay, I feel like I'm getting it, and I'm just again using that utility knife, working my way around the edges and just loosening it up. There we go. Let's take a look here. Alright, there's the goods, and that's what I'm trying to get to, the battery right there. Alright, let's just look this over for a few seconds. Alright, so you can see right there, this middle portion is attached by a single ribbon. So I'm going to attempt to get that ribbon free. Oh, there it goes. Very gently pulling that off. And then it's actually just slightly taped on here too. So let's see here. And it is free. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So again, that ribbon was attached right there. I'm going to set this over with the screen. Let's look here. How do we get to this battery? So the battery itself, looking at the replacement battery, this ribbon right here, which you can see right there, is attached to the battery itself. So that one certainly is going to have to come off. And then this ribbon coming across here is either going to have to be disconnected there or there. So again, I'm going to use this plastic tool. This makes me a bit nervous, but I'm going to try to pop that ribbon connection off right there. Maybe I'm going to pull this one off first. This is the toughest part because you don't obviously want to damage these ribbons, but they're designed to not come off. Okay, I flipped my phone around. I think that might help me a little bit more. Oh, that one came right off. Again, I'm probably being even more gentle than I need to be, but certainly one does not want to. Oh, that came right off. Cool. To damage anything here. I'm guessing it is just taped on, but the actual electronic connection came right off. Alright, so it is taped on to whatever this is. I'm going to try to pull that tape apart. Oh, there we go. You guys, check this out. I think the battery is free. Let's see here. There's a little piece of tape, I believe, right there holding the battery. Okay. So I just read online that the battery is actually glued in place, and that it just takes a little bit of kind of leverage there to get it, and I can feel it coming now. So that seems to be the case. Maybe I'll use my suction cup. Well, let me just work on this for a moment. There it goes. I can feel the tape popping. Alright, and something I kind of found ironic is that the battery is actually HTC, which I guess shouldn't be too surprising, but funny nonetheless. You would think that that they would have removed all the branding on that. Okay, so let's put everything back together. Here's my new battery. I will post a link to where I bought it. I think I paid like 10 bucks, 15 bucks, something like that. It's pretty darn cheap. It wasn't a big expense. I'm curious if this tape, yeah, it's still, yeah, still sticky. So I'm not even going to worry about putting down a new layer of tape. I'm going to use the existing adhesive to hold the battery in place. Old battery, new battery. I'm just kind of glance at this real quickly. They're identical. Part number 35H. They're identical in every way that I can see, other than the replacement doesn't have that HTC branding on it. Serial number is just slightly different. 27. Everything else looks good though. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and set this in there. Let's get that leveraged in place. Alright. Stoked to have a phone that holds its charge. That will be so nice to have once again. Okay, just set that in there. Right, so we're gonna go ahead and start realigning everything. Kind of nervous about these clips and getting them lined up properly. I think just take your time and you should be in good shape. Well, that one. So I just kind of wiggled it around until it kind of fell into place. So that one went in pretty smoothly. Oh, there it goes. Did the same thing with that one. Just kind of worked my finger around, a little bit of light pressure, worked the ribbon around, and then you can kind of feel it settling into the right place. Alright, so we're going with this piece now. If I remember correctly, let's just make sure everything's lining up, everything's looking good. So the single connection right there is where this was attached. Same thing. Just kind of put light pressure on it until you could feel it kind of fall into place. And then once it did, just give it a little bit more pressure. That little piece of tape, I was able to tape that back on. And I'm going to use this little tool just to put pressure on all of those little clips just to make sure. Actually, this one feels like it came off. Dang it. Let's see here. Alright, with a little bit of pressure. Oh man, I'm so glad I did that. Can you imagine putting this all back together and then something not working? I guess that is a possibility. But now that all feels nice and secure, again, give a little light pressure, a little bit of pressure on all of those components just to make sure that they are in place properly. Alright, this just kind of falls right back in place. And there were... Okay, pretty easy there. Right, so I'm going to flip this around the other way because this is when I took it off the orientation that I had it. And we're going to put those screws back in. Let's do our best. Where's my tweezers? Here they are. Let's do our best to put them back in the order they came out. In the same location that they came out, I should say. This is a little bit raised over here. I'm trying to figure out why that would be. And before I put those in, I'm going to double check underneath there because this, everywhere else is nice and flush, but on this side it's raised, so I feel like there's something in the way over there. So before I do that, I'm going to double check and make sure. Oh, it's just two little clips that looks like just need a little bit of pressure. I can see them. I'm going to use my blade here. Well, let's pull this back off and take a look at it. All the other clips clipped right into place without any problem. Those two you can see up here, maybe you can't see, but those two do not want to go on. So I'm going to put those ones in first when I line this up, and I'm going to leverage the edge of this just a bit. There they go. Those went into place. Alright, now everything feels nice and secure. Everything's flush around the outer edges. Alright, let's get these screws in here. I'm just going to lightly start the threading on those. Actually, you know, I was commenting earlier that I was surprised there was no Loctite. If you look real carefully on that threading, there's definitely a little bit of blue Loctite, which is what I initially suspected. Oh, lost that one. Shoot. Let's find it here. Alright, I found the little screw. I just used, it's so funny, I just used one of my lighting modifiers that has a really heavy magnet on it. Rubbed it around on the carpet until it picked it up. So that was the easiest way for me to find it. So if you, just like myself, lose one of the screws or drop one, they are magnetic, so just use a simple magnet to find it. Oops. Alright. Okay, gone around, tightened up all 9 of those screws. Now it's time to get the screen back on. We're getting there, you guys. So this is a part, might be a little bit tricky, and this is where I bought that 2mm tape for. So I'm going to clean off the residue from the old tape. In order to clean it off, I don't think I'm going to get all of it off, but any of these big chunks, I'm just going to kind of scrape and use my tweezers and just get as much of that off as we can so that when it comes time to apply the new tape and attach the screen, you know, there'll be minimal chance of it not aligning correctly. So again, using the razor blade and just working around the outer edge. You might have to, when doing yours, I haven't had to yet, but you might have to reheat it just a bit to get that glue to loosen up and detach itself. So it looks pretty darn good. Oh, there's a few little chunks over here. Okay. I think that's pretty darn good. Alright, let's look at the back of the LCD screen here. I'm going to pull off the suction cup that I still have attached there. Set that to the side. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to get off as many of the big chunks of adhesive as I can. In hindsight, it might have been good to get this off right when the screen came off of the phone or was detached from the phone, because all of this glue was nice and hot at that point. And I think it would have come apart much easier, but it's not too bad. Hope I'm not doing any, oh, that's interesting, there's some initials there. I hope I'm not doing any damage. Put my fingers on there. I wasn't even thinking about that. I am going to put some paper on it just to make sure that I'm not leaving any fingerprints on the screen that might show up through the I can't imagine that I would, but I will definitely clean it before I put it on the back on the phone. Again, I am going to actually heat this up and try to get as much of this glue off. I don't want to have to redo this. So that's what I'm going to do next. Alright, you guys, I've cleaned off pretty much as much of that as I can. And now I am applying my tape. I am going to go ahead and let it overhang so that I can cut it a little bit more precisely here in a bit. But I think you get an idea of what I'm doing here. We got 3 pieces there. And I'm going to clean up just a few more little spots up there. Okay, I've got most of the sticky off. This part is kind of tedious for sure. Lined up all the tape on this side. I'm going to do the same thing here. One thing I wanted to point out, just be cautious. You have a hole here for your camera, another one here, and another one here for your microphone and speaker. So just make sure you're not covering those up when you lay out your tape. So the way I'm laying my tape out, and I'm leaving excess here. About like that, I want to say, yep. Laying that down there and then cutting it. And again, I'm leaving a little bit of excess to hang off the side, and then I will trim everything up after I'm done. right in between that. Perfect. This is 2mm tape. In hindsight, I might have also purchased 1mm. Simply because I believe that the 2mm is going to be too wide for the edges. That's what I'm guessing. And I'm just going to cut a little small piece there. Come on now. I'm dealing with such delicate things. I get nervous. I get trembly a little bit. Alright, I think that's going to be it. I don't think I'm going to put, I might regret this, but I'm not going to put tape along these two sides. I feel as though if I do, that the screen is not going to lay flat. I'm hoping that that this tape right here will be sufficient in holding everything in place. So now I'm going to very carefully, with my X-Acto knife or utility knife here, I'm going to cut off all the excess tape that you see around the outside of the screen. I'm actually going to face this downward so I can see the edges really well. Okay. Okay guys, you can see how I have the tape laid out on here. I'm going to go ahead and very carefully clean the back side of this whole screen. I just want to make sure there's no residue from the tape or any fingerprints or anything of that sort. So I'm going to take my time to go around everywhere and just clean it as best as I can. I think it's pretty clean. Probably doesn't hurt though, just to give it a little bit of a cleaning here. I'm noticing a little bit of an impression right there, and I didn't notice it before, so I'm not sure if maybe I put that there. Or if that is something on the phone itself. But again, going around the outside edge here, just making sure everything's clean. Looks good now. Now I am going to remove, let's see here. Here's the two last pieces here. I think I'm going to clip it in first and then remove the second side of the tape. Just kidding. So removing that tape looks like it's going to be harder than I initially thought. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that off first. Or excuse me, I meant to say easier than I initially thought. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull that all off. Okay. So there's that. I'm going to hold this with just the outer edges. I'm going to use this here. What I don't want is I don't want to have to reposition it, if that makes sense. I want everything to line up smoothly on the first try, because that tape was a pain in the butt. Alright, so that ribbon went in without any problem, nice and easy. So I'm going to sit here with one hand holding the screen, the other hand we're going to try to get this in place. Come on. There we go. Oh shoot. Still some adhesive on the end of those tweezers, so they're holding on to it. Okay. Let's tighten that up. The tip on my screwdriver came out. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now, the moment of truth, you guys. Let's get the screen back in. Alright, so I have it lined up. I'm going to give it a little bit of pressure. I'm going to give this a little bit of a squeeze here. I want to make sure that seats really well. Ooh, I felt a little bit of a pop on that last corner, which was Great, exactly what I was looking for. So as I'm putting pressure around the outer edges here, I'm looking, and you can see a few very light scratch marks where I use that blade to get in there, but it's just, they're super, super faint. Nothing of any major significance. So that makes me happy. Very happy. All right. A SIM card, let's get that back in there. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, you guys, you ready for the moment of truth? Let's see what happens here. All right, and there you have it. Let's make sure everything boots up properly. It looks like it's going to, and boom, look, there's my cute little kids, you guys. Wow, it worked. Thanks for watching, guys. I know it's a long video, pretty crude. I'm not going to do any editing on it. You're seeing what it took.